What's up, my friends? We are rocking some Philippians. We are still in chapter 1, digging into some serious nuggets of truth. And we are now in verse 18/19. I don't know, it's 18b? It's crazy. I don't know. But he's talking about the struggle he's having with living through a hard time here versus just going on to heaven. And it's really pretty cool if you think about it. We're always going to find ourselves in a place where it'd be easy just to go on to heaven, just be done with this. It's really cool, his perspective. Let's read it together. We're in verse 18, the very end of 18, heading into 19. He goes, "Yes, and I will rejoice, for I know that through your prayers and the help of the Spirit of Jesus Christ, this will turn out for my deliverance, as it's my eager expectation and hope that I will not be ashamed, but with that full courage now, as always, Christ will be honored in my body, whether by life or by death." That's pretty amazing perspective there. Most of our prayers are for rescue, not for however this turns out. This is a win-win. But that's, I guess, what you could title this, is win-win, is our title for today. Here we go, verse 20. Not really. Verse 21. He goes, "For me to live is Christ, and to die is gain." Now, he fleshes it out. He goes, if I'm to live in the flesh, that means fruitful labor for me, yet which will I choose, I cannot tell. He goes, I'm hard-pressed on between the two. Hey, baby, I'll be with you in just a minute. Okay. That was my 9-year-old. All right. She's about to be hard-pressed right now. Okay, verse 22. He goes, if I am to live in the flesh, that means fruitful labor for me. Yet, which shall I choose? He goes, I cannot tell, because I'm hard-pressed between the two. This is a man sitting in prison, writing a letter to people he may never see again. All right, so there's not a whole lot good going on here. And heaven is probably sounding really good right now. So you got to kind of get where he is. If I'm to live in the flesh, that means fruitful labor for me. Yet I cannot choose, I cannot tell. I'm hard-pressed between the two. My desire is to depart and be with Christ, for that is far better. But to remain in the flesh is more necessary on your account. Convinced of this, I know that I will remain and continue with you all for your progress and joy in faith, so that in me you may have ample cause to glory in Christ Jesus because of my coming to you again. One really cool thing would be verse 25. This is a guy who's in prison with a lot of other people in charge of his life, and he just says, convinced of this, I know I will remain and continue with you all. That's a guy that's got a different website he's reading than the other prisoners in the prison there. But then he also says again, he goes, so that you can have ample cause to glory in Christ Jesus. Remember how he said earlier? He said, the palace guard knows I'm here for Jesus. The other prisoners know I'm here for Jesus. And the brothers out there are getting juiced up on the fact that I'm going through this. God's using this for good. He's saying this here, that I know God's going to bring me out of this, and it's going to give you even more reason to dive into what Jesus has for you. Really cool stuff going on there. But I guess this kind of got real for me on a tiny little level, talking to one of my seniors. And man, he was kind of getting a little senioritis, and it was about January. Man, he knows that man, graduation's coming. I'm heading off to college. It's so hard to stay plugged in here. I'm just like, all these letters are coming from colleges and stuff, and I started asking him. I said, well, what about so and so? What about so and so? I started naming these middle school guys that he was pouring into at the time, and he starts going, man, you know what? I got to stick this out. And I was like, why? And he goes, man, I'm the only one pouring into these guys. And I said, so what are you going to do? And he said, as much as I want to graduate and get going, man, there's not another me for them. I got to be here for them and pour into them and be the big brother that God's called me to be to these younger guys in the youth group. Man, God help us all that we've got a ministry like Paul had, that we spiritually matter to somebody enough to stick through something hard like this, to stick through a storm, because there are people who are growing in their faith because of my witness in their life. This is unfortunately a struggle that not many of us have. Not many of us are investing into people to the point that we would stick through a hard time just for not only for Jesus, but for them as well. But that's what he's saying. He's like, man, I'm going to stick this prison thing out because of you guys. Because I know that me being here is good for you. Paul is saying some things right now that are so upside down in the culture that we live in. We need to read through this a few times. We need to really dig into what he's saying and how truly upside down we are. What we see as persecution versus what Paul saw as persecution. What we see as sacrifice versus what Paul sees as sacrifice. We need to start digging into some three-dimensional spiritual Jesus friendships. We need to start praying for knowledge and discernment in our friendships and pouring into people so deep that we love them so much that we would go through dark times just to be there for them so they would have the kind of faith that we have. That's what happens when you dig into the Word. That's what happens when you grow your roots deep. You're not looking for a church that has passion. You are the church that has passion because God's doing it in you. That's what I'm seeing in Paul. This wasn't something he's going out looking for. He's not looking to be a louder worshiper and a stronger witness. He loves Jesus so much that he loves people like Jesus does, and he loves the people so much that he wouldn't dare leave them no matter what it cost him. That's big. Chew on that, my friends. Read verses 19 through 26, and let's ask ourselves, Father, what is it that I need to lay down that I can love you and people as much as he does? Thanks, guys. See ya.